Hi there, it's Jane Birkinshaw of Love Your Lens here. This is when I do my review of the images that you've submitted for the theme for March, which was wide angle. And you can see here that I've put together a collage of the images that I picked out as my favourites, or images where I feel it would be useful for people to have a few comments and a little bit of a critique. And at the end of this I will tell you which one was my favourite and why. Lots and lots of images submitted for wide angle, so thank you very much for that. One of the things that I've tried to do is we've got the washing machine on today in the background, so I do apologise if you can hear it going into jet mode in the background. One of the things that I've tried to do when I've gone through all of the images is to also make sure that I'm selecting images that tick a number of boxes. So the image has to have a strong composition. It must be sharply in focus where it needs to be. The exposure needs to be appropriate for the mood that you're trying to convey with the image. And importantly for this challenge, it had to be an intentional use of wide angle that strengthened the composition or helped convey a message or emotion. And when you look back at your pictures and you look at other people's images, the ones that will stay the longest with you and will resonate the best with you are those that either evoke an emotion, pose a question, or inform us in some way. And if an image fails to do any of those things, then you're going to be left feeling a bit cold and wondering why you're even bothering to take the time to take the image or look at the image. So it's always worth slowing down a bit and asking yourself, is your image going to do any of those things? And if it isn't, then move on, find a different angle, look for something a bit different to photograph. Okay, so let's start going through the images one by one and make a few brief comments on them. So we've got this first image by Vicky ED, and classic use of wide angle here. Wide angle lenses are very good to convey a sense of space, a sense of either loneliness or what am I trying to say here? Just sort of the isolation and that type of feeling. And there are several different things I like about this image. The sky is beautiful. The detail on the sand where the sun has fallen on it and making it glisten gold is wonderful. The ripples in the water. This guy here, just you get the sense that he's just running down to surf his first wave. For those of you that are thinking of taking part in the challenge for April, which is triangles, one of the things that I've said in the email that accompanies the challenge is that triangles are really useful for the shape of them can really direct the viewer's eye where to look. So if we draw the triangle that would exist in this image here, it goes from here down to the surfer, which is its apex, and then back out again along this line here. And if you can have your subject at the apex of a triangle, it's a strong place for it to be as the eye is directed to look there. So that might help you a little with this next month's challenge. And if I can see any other images that where triangles are being used, that's obviously an implied triangle, not a literal triangle. But I think once it's been pointed out to you, it's quite a strong one. Okay, so great image that, Vicky. Thank you. Then we get on to this image by Thomas Batson-Well, and I really like this one, but I struggled a little bit with where was my eye going in it. And I came to the conclusion that it's almost like you want to split it into two images. So go straight down the middle here, and you've got an image here, and your eye goes between those boats. Or you've got an image on the left-hand side where, again, these boats catch your eye. And I think that can be the difficulty with a very wide angle image. Your eye travels all over the place and isn't quite sure where to settle. Having said that, I totally understand why Thomas has composed this image as he has done, because the sky is so dramatic and it holds the image together. Okay, but I did struggle a little bit with where is my eye wanting to go and where is it wanting to settle. But a really nice capture there, Thomas, and thought-provoking. Then we've got this image by Eric Payton, and really good use of wide angle. Really, and what I particularly liked was the use of black and white, and I think it's a kind of infrared sort of black and white, giving us some very, very interesting textures, lines, lovely sky. And if we're looking at triangles, triangles are used to introduce stability or instability in an image. And if they are the right way up, i.e. the base is horizontal and the apex is pointing upwards, they're very strong shapes, and they're used all the time in architecture, and you can see them clearly in this church here and in the steeple. So we have some sort of obvious actual triangles going on there. There's quite a lot in this image actually. What I did feel was that I felt I wanted to be a little bit further back in this image. I feel as if I'm too close. I don't know what other people think. I feel as if I'd like to have sort of seen a little bit more in the foreground and been able to sort of travel in towards the church. But again, you know, good strong image, Eric. Thank you for submitting it. Okay, and then we go, sorry for all the jumping about, it's this program and my twitchy mouse. Here we have an image from Alan Hewitt. I knew Alan was really going to like this challenge because this is what he really does best. It's his forte. And this is a great image, and when I work out what my eye is doing, it's starting off with this big boat here in the foreground. It's kind of travelling across to the other two most prominent boats, but in that way it's also taking your eye along the harbour and all the houses. And this area at the front here, had it not had all this colour and texture and pattern in it, could have been a bit overwhelming, and it could have been a bit of dead space on the image. As it is, it isn't, because there's so much detail to be had there. Lots and lots of lovely detail in this shot as well, Alan. Thank you. Then another one from Alan, another great composition where he's got a strong subject in the foreground, this gate, and then the beautiful sort of very traditional landscape, very strong landscape here, and then a good sky in the background. Quite a lot of the images that I looked at lacked a strong subject, a strong focal point, and I think that's something you really need to pay attention to. If there isn't something really striking or strong in the image that is your focal point, that your eye goes straight to, then the image will feel weak, and it won't grab your interest for very long. So imagine this shot here without this gate in it, and it would still be a semi, quite an attractive landscape, but it wouldn't be anywhere near as strong as it is. Okay, on to this next image by Nicola Tracy. I really liked this one. It's got quite a classic feel to it. Looks like the sort of thing that you should be chuffed with this, Nicola. It sort of looks like the sort of thing you might come across, at a gallery, in a book. I hope you know what I mean by that. It's very unusual. It's a great viewpoint. Some really strong repeating patterns in this image. There's a sense of movement in it, and the way that you've got the sort of the horizontal lines and then the vertical lines in the top half of the image, and very little else going on to distract you from this main subject here. This bike on its own up here works well. Really strong in black and white, and a great image, a great viewpoint. So well done. This image, classic use of wide angle here. A wide angle lens will make leading lines converge, which directs your eye along them. It will make things appear further away than they actually are in reality. And again, if we talk about triangles, there are some strong triangle shapes here. There's the obvious one here, going forward like that. Then each side of the main subject, you've got a triangle, and at the apex of all three triangles is your subject. So I hope that's explaining a little bit for you for next month's challenge. Nice, simple image, but strong. Thank you, Nicola. I included this one just because it made me smile. This was Thomas Batson-Well again, and he put Y dangle. And some of us may have had to say that out loud and think about it for a second or two. But great use of humour there, Thomas. Thank you. Okay, very interesting image here from Janet Pope, and I know she put in a black and white version of it and a colour version, and there was some debate as to what people liked. I think on balance I preferred the colour, because the colours in it are great, and there's some good repeating colours as well, and you've got the sort of cooler side of the image this side, and then you've got the warmer side here. I did struggle a little bit with where I wanted to look, because there's so much going on. You're kind of looking at these people here, then you're having a look down here at what's going on, and then there's this guy wheeling something away here. But maybe that's not a bad thing. Maybe it just makes it all the more interesting because of that, that it doesn't have the one focal point. You travel all over it. Okay, and I'm sure there's lots and lots of triangles we could find in there as well. Great one by Karen Herman Wright. Great use of wide angle, great viewpoint. Really like the sense of the you know exactly which direction she's going to travel in. She's going to go forward that way from stepping stone to stepping stone. She quite rightly pointed out that it feels great because she's included 3. We always say that odd numbers are better than even numbers in composition. I like the way that it's straight across the middle there, and I thought the colour of the water and the detail in the water was great as well. So simple but interesting again. Okay, really must sort this programme out, it's driving me nuts. Right, then this image by Pam Fleming, which the strong thing about this, well, there's a couple of things really, but the linking colour is fantastic. She does comment that her son really likes yellow and was very pleased to find so much in Belfast. And then the monotone of the rest of it, it's almost could be an image where you've stripped out the rest of the colour and just left the yellow in, but of course I know you haven't because of what's going on in other areas. Yeah, really like it, and there is a triangle going on here. If we look there, that's the side, strong straight side of the triangle. Then we have this line down here going back to here. You see that implied triangle there, and at its apex is the subject, your son. I did feel as if it could do with a little crop, so I've just done that, if you don't mind. So if we just crop that in, we get rid of some of the distraction over there, and we lose a little bit of this expanse of white sky. I did consider it for a little while because I know that building there still delivers that kind of grey and yellow link to the rest of it, but then I felt that on balance it probably felt stronger without that in. All subjective, of course, but great image. Thank you, Pam. Then we've got this image by Sheena Hatton. Now, I wrestled with this one for a little while. I really like the use of strong black and white, the amount of detail in it. There's so much going on again in here, with the sort of focal point in the end being the building here, the Liver Birds building, isn't it? Excuse my ignorance. And I like the fact that it's framed with these 2 key sides here. I felt that, apart from that, it feels quite flat. And what I mean by that is there's no real sense of depth, even though we know that we're looking at several, blocks, you'd say if you're in America. We know that it's going back quite a distance here. And this helps give it some depth because this is near and this is far. But I think that because we've got this very strong horizontal line across here, it stops the eye travelling and feeling like there's a lot of depth in this area here. Now, obviously, this is all just my opinion, and it doesn't mean to say that I don't like the image. I do like the image, but I was trying to think about how I, really analyse it and get to how I felt about it. And I just feel it lacks a bit of depth, even though it's got a lot of interest about it. And just out of interest as well, this grey splodge here is dirt on the sensor. Can easily be edited out, but watch out for those of you who are not sure what that looks like. Well, that's it there. there. There's potentially another one there. I always find that the more you look at an image, the more you eventually start seeing these splodges. There might be something there. Sometimes you're not sure if it's your dirty screen as well. But thank you for that, Sheena. Don't be downhearted. I wasn't criticising it at all. I feel like there's a lot of things that are very strong about it. Okay, then we have this great landscape by Karen Richards, another classic landscape with fantastic detail in the foreground, beautiful interest in the middle ground with these low-lying clouds and the mountains, and then a lovely sky. Lovely landscape there, Karen. Then we've got this image by Janet Pope, and I picked this one out particularly. I know you submitted quite a lot of images of these cars in Cuba. I picked this one out. I really liked the angle that you did of it, to be honest. The dramatic angle, making it feel very different to the other images. We find horizontal lines and vertical lines very stable. We're drawn to them. They mean stability. So the minute you sort of use dramatic lines like this, you're introducing instability. And I guess we've got triangles going on here, really, haven't we? And these dramatic lines. So you interrupted the normal, and it creates a feeling of tension in the image. And I like the use of black and white as well, bringing out all the textures and patterns within this image. So nice one there. Okay. Then we've got this one by Dominic Pope. I had a sneaky feeling I've seen this before, Dominic, but maybe it's a boat that you've photographed a lot, or I'm just misremembering. Either way, I like it. I love the colours in it. The colours of the boat are completely captured in the colour of everything else around it. And lovely low angle, showing us, making this boat appear bigger and more dramatic than it is. And I hate to say it, but there's a triangle again within this. It's like a triangle with curved lines, this one, isn't it? So yeah, I love the textures in that, Dominic, and the colours. Okay, and then on to my favourite image. Technically, maybe not the best image. Shot on a phone. Quality's it's got that phone feel to it, isn't it? When it's slightly hyper real. But I absolutely love this image, Tina. The way that you've captured the three subjects here within the rainbow is brilliant. The light's fantastic, the sense of movement, joy, the dog's eye contact here looking at the lady. It is just pure unbridled dog walk joy, isn't it? And that's what does it for me, really. It evokes that emotion and tells that strong story that we're looking for. But on top of that, you've got a great composition and lovely colours, and it's well exposed. So well done for that, Tina. I have thoroughly enjoyed looking through your images, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you submit for triangles, which admittedly is a tricky subject, but one that I think we'll all hugely benefit from in terms of our learning and our composition. So thank you for listening, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Bye bye.